Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the You Should Get a License podcast, your number one source for information, education, and inspiration. I'm your host, Rod Powell. Hey, listen, this is going to be a special conversation because we actually have one of my mentors in the business and a personal friend as well. When I was thinking about this podcast and I thought about stories and I thought about experiences that really could add value and how this industry can really shape someone's life and the way that they impact the world, this is one of the individuals that I thought about. And I'm really excited to have this conversation. It's gonna be packed with nuggets and gems and just things that you could take away for your career and for your life as well. He's a father, an entrepreneur. He runs multiple businesses. I know him as an insurance entrepreneur, as a owner of a brokerage, as a owner of a marketing firm. He's helping businesses in a multitude of ways. I want to welcome the president of RhinoFin Consulting, my friend Lincoln Baringer. Lincoln, welcome.
Hey, Rod, it is great to be here. But I've got to correct you. I'm not your mentor, man. You are my mentor. It is a blessing to be here. I really appreciate the time and even you reaching out and, inviting me to your platform. Hopefully we get to touch a life or two throughout the next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate that, man. But let me say in this forum, because it will exist, in the internet world and in perpetuity and on Spotify and Apple. And I don't know why I'm saying them because they don't pay me for advertising. But you created opportunities for me to really show, what I had. It was up to me to kind of perform and step up. But if it wasn't for you opening some of those doors, man, this platform wouldn't even exist. So let me thank you as well, in this forum.
Hey, you're the one that created those opportunities though for yourself. So don't fool yourself, Rod Powell.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So as we get started, man, look, we can just talk about each other this whole call and just say wonderful things, on this entire conversation about each other. But for this platform, we talk about the concepts of you should get a license, how the insurance industry, the financial services industry can really impact someone's lives. There's a lot of different paths, a lot of different places that you can go in this industry. What I'd like you to share, Lincoln Baringer, is, what market segment have you really focused on throughout your career? And what is your role today in the industry?
Yeah, so I think that we kind of got to go to past, present, future on that question. So years ago, we're talking 20 years ago, I wanted to be a jack of all trades. I wanted to learn it all. I wanted to soak it in like a sponge. So really it was a full Monty of everything life and health and property and casualty. I even remember on the property casualty side, as a young cat, I spent $30,000. That was like a huge astronomical amount at the time. That was like $18 million to me, where I bought into a program where I could offer a lot of P&C opportunities and did very well there. And then where it gravitated over the years was actually to voluntary benefits, which is still very near and dear to my heart. And for 15 years of my life, really focused and dialed into voluntary benefits. Currently, as you learn in the industry, the segments start changing, markets start changing. You start seeing what really could impact businesses or individuals' lives. And really, it's a very unique opportunity right now where I offer some very interesting ideas that business owners have not seen. So I love individuals. I'm still on the business space that offers some products in a unique way. And currently that's what we do. We could talk hours on that right now, which maybe we'll get into.
Yeah.
However, what you start learning as you become a professional in this industry is really what the need is. And then it becomes a passion, Rod. It's not part of, hey, I need to make a living. It's how can I make a bigger impact with having a license.
That's right. Absolutely. It's like you take the tools and you essentially become an architect, for businesses and helping them to construct, what they want to build, what they want to see and what they want to achieve. And we have access to some knowledge and information and education that can help them in that direction. One thing I want to touch on really quick, because you said voluntary benefits. And for some people who are listening to this platform, when you say voluntary benefits, they're certainly going to understand what that is. For others, they're going to have voluntary benefits. They're going to say, what is that? What are voluntary benefits exactly?
Yep. So voluntary benefits, I think Einstein said it best. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So voluntary benefits it's a piece of the industry that pays above and beyond anything that major medical or health plans will not cover. Yes. That's what they are. And if you want to dive a little bit deeper into that, that could be life insurance. It could be hospital indemnity plans, cancer insurance, heart insurance, accident insurance, and there's a plethora more out there. But in a very simple statement, that's what they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you see coverages, a lot of times people think that, hey, they have their major medical that's in place. They might have their dental, they may have their vision, but the reality is, those benefits aren't going to cover all of the expenses that they incur. So the voluntary benefits they would be able to add on to those, and then fill in any financial gaps that are present.
Hey, look, I am an Ohio State fan, but when Nick Saban is out there promoting for Aflac, it must be a pretty big deal, right? Right?
It must be. It must be.
Go Bucks, though. Go Bucks.
That's right. That's right. Because you're an Ohio native, so I mean that's going to be a natural thing. By the way, actually, sidebar, a good friend of mine, industry colleague who I met living here in Richmond, is a Buckeye. And played for the Buckeyes and has a championship ring.
Yeah.
That he wears. I'm like, good job, man. Good. I say, what? I know someone who you would really get along with, thinking about you.
Yeah. But, hey, you and I both know a bunch of Alabama fans too. I know this is way off topic, but Ohio State is undefeated. Alabama's not doing too well this season. I'm just saying, just out there.
I mean, hey, by the time this interview airs, that may have changed. I don't know. I'm not an Alabama guy, so I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Hey, look, so I want to delve more into kind of the evolution of your business and your life as well. But I want to take a minute and just kind of step back. Because oftentimes when people are stepping into this industry, it's not, the first thing that becomes top of mind. I want you to take me back to like a 9-year-old, 10-year-old Lincoln Baringer. What were you dreaming about being when you grew up at that time?
So what you may not want me to say, but I'm going to, is that before we even got into the recording side of this podcast here, you showed me some guitars in your background. I showed you some guitars in my background. I always wanted to be a musician playing in front of huge audiences where you feel that energy. And, it's not about you, but it's about the crowd just getting into it and making them feel that emotion. And, it creates a vibe. You know what I'm talking about. You've been there.
Exactly what you're talking about.
But that's what I wanted to do as a child. Now, I do want to ask a question, because this could go off in 1,000 different directions.
Yeah.
Where do you want me to go from there? Because in a short answer, I wanted to be just a rock star. I did. That's my short answer. That's my 9-year-old self.
So, I think that we certainly have those aspirations. And the reality is, I mean, look, you're still a musician. We played guitars together around campfires and on stages as well. We've
not even in America, right?
Not even in America. We've played we can say that we've done international tours together. We can say that.
Yes.
Because we have played together internationally in 2 separate locations. I would consider that touring. How about you?
You know what? I've never thought of it like that. But yes, we have, my friend. Yes, we have.
Absolutely. So let's go here. So that's still a part of your life. Take me up to your journey, because obviously you still play music, but that's not what you ended up doing. But you always had, kind of an entrepreneurial spirit, from my understanding, and the things that I've known. We've had a lot of conversations. Take me kind of through your career journey and how you ended up, in this industry, in this space.
No, you know, like I love to have fun. I like to have fun conversation. Um, it really starts while I was still in my senior year of college. And I asked my dad one question. And I think that everybody, if they really dive deep into the most important questions you've ever asked somebody in your life, this is one of the most important questions I've ever asked. I asked my dad, who's the most successful person that you know, because that's who I want to interview with. So I happen to be a senior in college. You could ask anybody that. It doesn't need to be your dad, but I know in life that was one of the most pivotal points, because if I would have not asked that question, I would not be where I'm at today.
Mm.
And he answered the question by saying, first person out of his mouth, Frederick Hightower. I said, well, who's Frederick Hightower? He said, well, Fred is a friend of mine. I've known him for decades now, and I could probably set you up for an interview. And that's what happened, Rod, is that during my senior year, I had this interview. I thought it was for this, what do you call it when you're not really working for money, but you work, what's that called? An internship. Look, I'm not that smart, so all you guys can have a bunch of success. I couldn't even figure out the word. So I thought it was for this internship, and then maybe a career after that. And Fred Hightower had owned a farm. He had a horse that he named a Longiloris Trimmer, which was off of one of the Kentucky Derby horses named Big Brown. It was a descendant of Big Brown. And, you know, he showed me a bunch of things. So I'm kind of fast forwarding a few months from the story. But he had a huge insurance career in the voluntary benefits that I explained earlier. He had kids that he had supported. And, you know, we don't need to talk about the kids, but I saw from a very young age, still a senior in college, that he had supported their kids in producing movies, opening up mortgage companies, opening up insurance brokerages down in Columbus, Ohio. And I knew, I was like, wow, how does one man create so much? So I get an interview. I thought it was an interview. I show up in Youngstown, Ohio on Midlothian, and I walk into, he had purchased an old bank. So I walk into this bank, and it's all Eddie Bowered up. The furniture's pristine. Everything's clean as could be. And I walk down this little hallway to the receptionist area, and there Mr. Hightower is standing. And even though, look, I got to know Mr. Hightower very, very well, but he did have a huge oil painting of himself that had to be 4 foot by 6 foot tall, beautiful oil painting behind the receptionist area. And I had not met him, but I'd heard a lot of stories about this man from my dad. And very first question he asked me, Rod, he said, do you want to make a lot of money? He did. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Let me back up 10 seconds. He said, you must be Mr. Baringer's son. And I said, yes, sir, I am. And he said, you must want to make a lot of money then. You want to make a lot of money? And I said, Mr. Hightower, I was a state wrestler in high school. I wrestled in college for a little while. I did all these things. You know, I said, I'll work hard. I never need to sleep. I'll sleep when I die. You know, that'll give me enough sleep. I probably made a fool of myself is what happened. And he said, do you really want to make a lot of money? And I said, Mr. Hightower, you've never met anybody like me. Let me just hold on to your coat. I mean, I know this is going to sound silly, especially if this actually is not edited, but it's true. I mean, this is the story that happened.
Yeah.
And I probably made a fool of myself. And he goes, you really want to make a lot of money, huh? And he goes, stop thinking about the money and start focusing on the client. He goes, if you start focusing on the client, you're going to wake up one day, and what's going to happen is that your rent's going to be paid or your mortgage is going to be paid. He said, your cars are going to be paid for. He said, including that, every other item that you've ever thought of in your mind, all those toys, they're all going to be taken care of if you focus in on the client. He said, more importantly than any of that, He said, what if you could wake up one day and a friend is in need, and it can be you that steps up to the table? What if it's a family member? And you can step up to the table and say, you know what, I can help you out. I don't want anything in return. I just want to help you out. If there is a church or a philanthropy that's in need, and it can be you that is the one that fulfills that need, that is when I got sold on why you should get a license. That's when I got sold on the insurance industry. Because what I learned, not that day, but years after that, was when I had an opportunity to say, Fred, and I eventually got to call him Fred, by the way. It was Mr. Hightower for the first 3 or 6 months. But after I got to know him, it was one of those stories where Fred, what does this mean? What's renewal income? He started to talk about that. And he said, well, Lincoln, there's only a certain amount of industries where you can do something one time and get paid on it year after year after year after year. And I did want to be a singer. I brought that up earlier, right? But I knew that
there is publishing. There is music publishing.
Hey, you maybe that's what I should have gotten into, because you heard me sing before. I can maybe harmonize with you, my friend, but that was never going to happen, right? So long and the short is that I understood that if you do something one time and you can keep getting paid on it, not only is that important for the people listening right now, what about the legacy that you can leave behind? What about the legacy that you can leave behind?
Absolutely.
That's the important piece of this. I want to show a picture. I actually grabbed a couple things. Obviously, I knew I was having this call with you. Absolutely. So in my office, I only have a few people. Now, Rod, I'm sorry, man. I don't have a picture of you in my office. Maybe I should. Maybe
what? I have a picture of you in my
you know
office.
What? You know what? That's
on this wall right here.
That's incorrect. I do have, I could show you if you want. I do have it down here. I do have a picture, but there's certain pictures that I keep out.
Yeah.
Because the reminders of where I began at. Does that make sense? Like how did the story begin? It's right here. So that's my dad, and that's Fred Hightower. They were good buddies. Fred Hightower, I would not be talking to, I mean, think about that. I wouldn't be talking to you today if it wasn't for the man in that picture right there. I think about that every day because he's in front of my face every single day that I come in, and I thank him. I'm extremely grateful. He taught me things that I would have never ever known. So you asked about the evolution, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of started at. And I'll expound on that for a moment. I didn't know what I was doing in the industry, but I will mention this. And you know, I like to give tips on what I would offer to anybody, even entertaining getting a license. And I don't want to skip ahead, but I think this is an important piece here to even mention early. There's two types of people in our industry. There's those that will personally produce, that want to meet with the clients, and I admire that greatly. And then there's those that want to be team builders, that want to grow an organization, that want to grow an agency, right? Absolutely. So I've seen people try to do both very unsuccessfully. I've never met somebody that can do both incredibly well, and they're admired on both sides of the fence, right? I've never seen that. I've been in the industry a long time. You have too. There's two types of people. So you got to choose what you're going to do. You got to choose if you're going to be a personal producer, or are you going to grow an agency? You're going to grow a broker. You're going to grow a team. I think you do have to choose, because both are successful paths. But the reason I mention that now is I started to recruit my college buddies, my high school buddies. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was getting overrides 6 months in to Mr. Hightower, very gracefully giving me an opportunity to work with him side by side. What I did not know is that Mr. Hightower was pretty old at that time, and he was at the end of his career. He did not want to take anything on. He didn't need to take anything on, but for whatever reason, he decided to take me on. And then it became a pretty interesting thing, because I filled his office of 3 up with 10, and then 12, and then 15. But he knew I wasn't happy, Rod. So this is where this gets a little bit off the you should get a license platform.